pricking of my thumbs. Something wicked this way comes.
When I work on a film, I always kind of come in at this human level and an empathetic level, especially with the director. I think working with Joel Cohen is kind of putting me at the pinnacle of where I'd like to be. It's a bit of a difficult question when you pose it like, what's it like working with Joel as opposed to working with Joel and Ethan? Since the only time I worked with Joel and Ethan was as an art director. And it's a little bit of quite a different job. As a production designer, you're seeing the overall look of the film. As an art director, you're kind of getting into the nuts and bolts and you're supporting that production designer. So in the case of True Grit, with this amazing production designer, Jess Gonsher, it was my job to kind of make sure Jess's vision went forward. So, I had interactions with both Joel and Ethan. It was just that you had two directors that you were dealing with. They were so in sync that it seemed like one. And working with just Joel was just such a different experience because there I was in the production designer role where I'm overseeing the whole thing as opposed to as True Grit, making sure that one specific set is really working at that time. It's kind of your point of view is completely different as a production designer. Working on Macbeth was probably the most collaborative project I've worked on. You bring something to it, but you're hoping that your crew or somebody else will go, oh, you know what I thought you were going to say? I thought you were going to say this. And oh, you're like, that's a great idea. And you start layering up, and then something beautiful that you didn't fully conceive comes out of it. And I think that's the best. And that did happen. When I came into the project, I think that Joel and Fran and Bruno had kind of been working together, I want to say close to a year, maybe 9 months to a year. Joel and Bruno had already been going in and laying out photographs, architectural photographs, clips from other movies, some of Bruno's photography, and kind of breaking down a kind of filmscape of what different environments would look like. And they had kind of laid that in. So I was coming into that mix. So the foundation of what Joel gave me allowed us to just get in and be creative right away and get into it and get in that place where you want to be, where you want to start creating imagery where you're reflecting the director's movie back at them. And they can tell you if you're right or not, or how they feel about those ideas. But it's a great spot to be in. And Joel just gave me an incredible foundation to do that. It was always part of the conversation to have the hand of the artist in there. You're kind of creating sets and environments that hold the performances that are being captured on film. When I talk about the sets getting carved out of light and shadow, really that's what they are. They're not designed as sets to be kind of lit in a naturalistic way. They're lit in a stylistic way, and that they create their own architecture in terms of how that shadow is placed. But that carving light and shadow is so integral because the sets are designed as a cinema construct, more so than just creating a naturalistic environment. I mean, everything's designed to be shot. If you can't shoot the set, it's just an art project. But this was very specific to embrace the cinema of the movie. We wanted to embrace artifice. We wanted to embrace abstraction and let that speak to what was going on in the moments of the play. The crossroads, especially when you're back with Fleance, and it's just this of grasses, and Bruno had done a test light of these grasses, and they looked great because they had these little tufts on, and it was not something I even thought was going to work, but just the way he lit them looked great. So we had to cut them all so that they were all at the right height, and then we had those all in buckets that we could move around and whatnot. And that looks pretty goddamn awesome. I mean, you could look at Macbeth and because it's got its pedigree in the director, in the actors, it doesn't set it apart for me as a project in terms of where it becomes work. Because I think if it became work for me, I might think about retirement. I just have wonderful experiences working with other creative people, and I think that's the joy that I take out of it. It's either about a 130-foot tall gorilla or it's about the Saint of Cawdor. You just have to put your head in that zone and embrace it.